Hi there. I decided to do video blogs for my research practicum mainly because it's an easier outlook for me, an outlet to get my thoughts across. It's easier for me to recall later, and I'm already doing so much writing for this paper that I figured I should mix it up a little bit. The last 6 weeks have been crazy. I've I've been in back home looking after my grandparents. I've been doing a lot of different things, but it's really allowed me to narrow my scope on what I actually want to get out of this paper. Now, originally, I had started with the idea of sonic affect, or the affect on the soul, the human, um, through sound. And I wanted to study this music festival that we went to. However, it was kind of a shit show. We were on evacuation warning the whole time because of the BC wildfires, yada yada yada. I took a heap of notes and I actually interviewed one of the sound techs there at one of the stages, who's a close personal friend of mine. However, one of the nights it rained so hard that it put out the fires and allowed the music festival to go on, but it also blew the rain guard off my tent and wrecked my notebook. So it was pretty crazy in that respect. But I have all of the sort of the gist from that interview, and I can contact him on Facebook, which I'm going to do soon. But I wanted to just touch on a new idea that had come to my attention during this trip. And the best way to do that is to just, I guess, tell the story from start to finish. Um, so when I was at my grandparents' house, my grandfather is 88 and my grandmother is 65. Um, I noticed that their stereo wasn't working anymore. And all through my childhood, they always used to listen to music. And there used to be music playing in the house all the time. Mainly classical stuff. That's what they're into. A little bit of a little bit of a little bit of jazz and stuff like that as well. But mainly, Mozart, Bach, that kind of stuff. Anyways, so I took it upon myself to fix their stereo because I knew that was something that was really important to them. And I opened it up and I noticed that inside where the RCAs connect on the inside was loose. So I ended up just finding a fastener and bolting that together better. Um, and anyways, ended up working. I also had to rewire the back of one of the speakers. They're old speakers, so it's one of the ones where you have to thread the wire through the little thing and then screw the doohickey back on. Very technical language, I know. But anyways, fixed the stereo. And up until that point of the night, this was the second night I was there. Second night I was there. It had been pretty mundane, relaxed, not a lot of talking. I mean, my grandfather was going into, surgery. He said he is having open heart surgery actually today. And I noticed that when I got the stereo working, um, the energy in the room, the vibe of the room, completely flipped. They were really excited that I got this done, obviously. Um, but the thing that was really exciting and really um, special was that as soon as I started playing these songs and we started, going through the different, albums that they had, um, they started telling me all these stories. Now, obviously, growing up with them, I'd heard heaps of stories from them, of this era and that era, but these were all stories that I had never heard before. Um, and I mean, for the last, 10 years, I've been hearing the same sort of stories over and over and over again, as grandparents do, But all of these stories that came out as we were flicking through these songs were completely foreign and completely brand new. And it was really sort of interesting. So I took that thought away and kind of, I don't know why it stuck with me, but I kind of, you know, let it marinate in my mind a little bit. And then the next day I was doing some poking around on the internet, and I found out that there's sort of a new field of study where music, especially music that's held dear to the listener itself, can actually help a lot with Alzheimer's, and and connecting those old songs to new stories, or old stories but new to me, I guess. And I found this absolutely fascinating, especially because I had experienced it firsthand. Now, neither of my grandparents are, you know, uh, really stricken by Alzheimer's, but I think as anyone gets older, um, you know, the brain doesn't work the same way as it used to. But it was almost like, immediately after I had fixed the stereo and we started cycling through these songs, it was like a light went on in both of their heads, and they were telling me about, you know, the first date they went on where they weren't even supposed to be dating each other. They were dating. My grandpa was on a date with another girl, and his friend was on a date with my grandma, and they're on this double date, and I'd never heard any of this. And I mean, this is got to be 50 years old. They met. My grandpa was 32 when they met. My grandma was 21, I think, or 19. Anyways, um, but it was really crazy to me how quickly they were remembering these stories. And I mean, it was 10 stories deep, and immediately, I mean, this is part of the sonic effect, I guess, as well. The scotch came out after the stereo was fixed, and I don't even like scotch, but because they were drinking it, I had to have some too. And it was a really special moment. It was really exciting for me, to hear all these stories from their past, but also see this sonic affect. And I think I really want to take a lot of that and use it in my paper. So not I'm not gonna throw out the other research I've done, because I mean, I think this paper as a whole, we're still studying sonic affect, but I really want to dive deep into this music as therapy for Alzheimer's idea, and see what I can come up with. Um, the artist Moby um, has done a lot of work in this field, and is heavily involved in a sound institution in, I think it's England. Obviously needs some further research. Um, that is really researching, and I know Moby himself has poured a lot of money into this as well. So I really want to take it upon myself to try and follow up on a lot of these ideals, and really make this paper partially about that. We'll still study, a little bit of some other stuff. But I found that when I was at the music festival, which is part of that was going to be heavily part of the paper as well, I was watching, how these thousands and thousands of dollars worth of speakers were affecting people. I found that a little bit dry, and maybe not high enough brow for this paper. So it was kind of it was a blessing in disguise that my notebook kind of got washed away, um, because yeah, this new topic, I think, is a little bit more beefy and a little bit more exciting, maybe a little bit more um, scholarly. But anyways, so that's it for now. I'm gonna be making at least one of these, probably two of these a week, as I start um, my new direction in this paper. I tried to meet up with you, Clint, on the Thursday before break, but you weren't around when I was there, so it's unfortunate. I would have liked your approval, I guess, for this switch, but I'm sure you'll feel the same way I do, in that this is a more meaty and exciting subject than just the effect of speakers. I do plan on keeping some of that interview with that sound tech, though, because I think that's really important, and it was a really cool interview. So that's it for now. Thanks.